Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, comedian and friend, Omid Singh.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Omid.
And Megan in the sound booth. Hi.
Shout out to Megan in the booth, our new engineer for Sundays when we record these things. Hey, man, you picked a real egregious choice. You hate Blazing Saddles.
Egregious? Why is it egregious?
Because I think in comedy, it's one of those things where it's like Mel Brooks is an icon, obviously, and Blazing Saddles is widely seen as a comedy classic. For those of you who don't know, for whatever reason, Blazing Saddles is a 1974 American satirical Western comedy film directed by Mel Brooks, starring Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder, written by Brooks, Andrew Bergman, Richard Pryor, Norman Steinberg, and Al Uger. It's about the film satirizes the racism obscured by myth-making Hollywood accounts of the American West, with the hero being a black sheriff in an all-white town, full of deliberate anachronisms from the Count Basie Orchestra playing April in Paris in the Wild West to Slim Pickens referencing to the Wilder sports to the German Army of World War II. Why do you hate this movie?
Okay, if you take out the word satirical, then that movie is very different. But because it's based in satire, I guess it gets a pass. But because I didn't see any satire when I watched it, to me it just looked like the most racist movie ever created in history. And it bothered me so much because I didn't watch it when I was young. I didn't watch it when I was a child. I watched it maybe a year ago.
Okay.
So
what was your experience like watching the movie?
Horrible. I was sitting down on my couch. Everybody was going to that outdoor graveyard movie theater that happens, Forever Cemetery.
Forever Cemetery, yes.
And they're going to go see Blazing Saddles. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to watch it at home because I have a TV.
Right.
So I started watching it. And from, I think like minute one, I just was like, this is it's horribly racist.
It drops right in from the very first minute.
And I didn't like it. It came at a time in my life where I didn't need to hear the N-word so many times used as a joke.
Uh-huh.
And okay, I'm sure Mel Brooks is not a racist. I'm sure he's just a satirical genius, but I didn't appreciate it still, even though it's so, ha ha ha, it's so funny to laugh at these guys not understanding that there's a black sheriff, ha 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 ha. Didn't connect with me at all with the place that we are in society where racism just runs rampant. And it's because of normalizing it that made it so uncomfortable for me watching this classic comedy that I'd only heard amazing things about since I was a kid. Like, oh, Blazing Saddles is the greatest movie ever. And then finally getting to see it and being horribly disappointed.
Gotcha. Man, all right. That's a strong place to start out. And I think let's talk about Mel Brooks for a sec, just in general, as a comedy type of dude.
Yeah.
Are you pretty familiar with Mel Brooks' other work?
I mean, I've seen Young Frankenstein.
Okay.
And then I've seen Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Gotcha.
And that's my favorite. Men in Tights is hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen Robin Hood Men in Tights. What do you like so much about it?
Dave Chappelle, for sure, is amazing in it. The guy who's in Princess Bride, the main guy, he's also Robin Hood.
Carrie Always?
Sure. He's been here at the Comedy Store. He's been upstairs to watch Roast Battle before.
Yeah. That's that guy.
That guy. He's great in it.
He was in Saw.
He was in Saw?
He has to saw his foot off in Saw. He's the guy.
God.
He's the surgeon.
This guy is just an all-around talent. He can do everything.
Yeah.
I like him. I like the guy who plays Little John. It's just a funny film. Sure, I'm sure there's still like, and Richard Lewis. Oh my God, so funny. And I'm sure if I go back and watch now, I'll be able to nitpick it again and be like, oh, there is something probably racist in this, but I didn't see it then. Not like how I saw it with the movie Blazing Saddles.
So that's the thing with Blazing Saddles is it is extremely, extremely overt. And I remember, so I hadn't seen this movie for a number of years until you brought it up to me as the movie you wanted to talk about today. I had watched it in my house when I was I think I was like 14 or 15. It was the first R-rated movie that I got permission from my parents to watch. and because I'd seen Young Frankenstein, I'd seen Spaceballs, I don't think I'd seen History of the World Part 1 at that point, but I was familiar with Mel Brooks. And I was like, I really would like to see Blazing Saddles. Can we go rent it from Blockbuster, please? And we did. And my parents let me watch it, and they would let me watch it by myself. And
Your parents are probably racist.
look, my parents grew up in the South. Probably, definitely. That's how the South works. Omid, you've been around.
I do know. Yeah, I know.
I think now at the time, I really don't remember for whatever reason the racist stuff. It's one of those things that, like, I remember I sit down and watch it a couple days ago, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, I remember parts of this movie and enjoying parts of this movie because I think probably looking back, a lot of white dudes dropping N-words is like, oh, they're not supposed to say that.
Yeah, it's superior. Yeah,
man, that's weird.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny and strange and jarring. And there's all these other, there's a whole, it's a real kind of throw everything at the wall and see what sticks kind of movie. You got this racial element throughout the whole movie. You have a lot of obvious satire involving government figures and incompetence on that level. You have really, really lowbrow stuff with a whole scene that's just farts and burps around a campfire, and it's really throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I definitely remember hearing a lot of swear words and bad words, quote unquote, and being like, hee tee hee, I'm not supposed to say these things or hear these things. And I remember laughing at some of that other stuff that was like, oh, we got to go get a shitload of dimes for the, like the whole scene. But I didn't remember, for whatever reason, it had just been blocked out of my mind, all of the super overt racism from the jump in the movie.
From the jump.
And it's jarring, and it definitely made me kind of bristle when I watched it again a couple days ago. But I think as the movie progresses and it goes on and you see the way that it is, the elements of satire that are at play, where it's obvious as the movie gets further and further along that these dumbass white dudes are the butt of the joke, that the smartness of that satire comes out. Like, it's not like these guys, that's not the
You could even take it a step back even further and say that the movie wouldn't be made if it wasn't supposed to be satire. It no way would have made it to movie theaters if all of a sudden he did make this racist film. Of course it's a joke. There's
Right.
no question about it that it's a joke.
I guarantee. I mean,
It can't be anything but a joke.
right.
Hopefully.
It has to be a joke. It has to be a joke. I guarantee that there's no way this movie's getting made if Richard Pryor is not attached as a writer to it.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I don't think you're gonna let.
It's not going to have the notoriety, maybe, but it might still get made.
I don't know. I think that it's hard to say even in the 70s, which I can't say what life was like in the 70s.
You weren't there, Jay?
Surprise.
What year were you born?
I was born in 1990.
1990?
Yeah, baby. Wait, what year were you born?
89.
Whoa.
Yeah, I tasted that sweet 80s cocaine.
This whole time I thought you were like 3 years older than me.
Dude, I'm really old looking.
You are old looking.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden at like 26, everything just went real downhill real quick.
I think that this movie, I mean, again, I don't know what the 70s are like. I don't know but you have a bunch of, if you have 4 white Jewish dudes writing a racial satire that heavily involves white guys saying the N-word from the jump of the movie.
It just didn't.
It's probably not going to get made.
It just didn't connect with me at all.
Even if it's Mel Brooks.
Even if it's Mel Brooks, even if it's, anybody, I just didn't connect with it. It also brings up like Quentin Tarantino and Django and all that kind of stuff too. It makes me think about using the language and film is how people learn, education. If you don't go to school, you watch movies or you read books or something like that, you're going to learn what other people make, and you keep feeding like this normalizing feeling that we're supposed to be racist, even if it's a joke, is getting uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a hard movie to watch. I'm not gonna say either time that I didn't enjoy watching this movie. I still think this movie is a really great comedy movie and a great example of satire done well that is also and it was extremely hard to pull off like this. This is one of those movies that is walking a tightrope the entire time, to the point where even in the script, when they were in the writing process, Mel Brooks had a poster on the wall that says, "Please do not write a polite script."
I get it, but don't walk a tightrope if you don't need to walk a tightrope.
I think that
I don't know.
this
I
is-
wasn't there yet.
I mean, we weren't there.
Sure.
This is maybe a time. I don't think maybe now is a tightrope needed to
I
be
think it's
walked by white Jewish dudes.
I think it's a one-trick pony movie.
It is kind of a one-trick pony movie.
It's a
I mean, I
one-trick
can't disagree
pony,
with you on that.
And the pony is revealed very quickly, and it's like, all right.
Well, now
I'm not in the mood for 2 hours more of racism when I experience it 22 hours of the day anyways in life.
Fair.
I don't need 2 hours of extra created satire racism. It's not. It wasn't necessary to me when I watched it.
That's fair.
So it's also when I watched it, how I watched it, who I am, that makes me not like this movie.
What was going on in your life? Were you experiencing a lot of racism when you were watching this, or is this more of it just
sure.
like the daily thing?
Racism is a weird feeling. It's just like a wave, It just keeps coming and going. It doesn't go anywhere. It just like stays around. Even though you're not being affected by it, it's still there. You can clearly tell it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I don't know, somehow we're still divided.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, Jay?
Oh, I would say. We're sitting here across a big divide right now.
We are.
This feels like a chasm.
And in the middle, Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles is it's a movie. There are definitely parts that it's hard to imagine how a movie like that could get made in that specific way now. It's one of those movies. The closest thing that I've heard to a movie dealing with overt, it's not an overt race. I can't speak to the context of the movie because I haven't seen it yet. I'm just basing it off of trailers. Is
Let me
Black.
guess. Minions.
Those freaking yellow people with their weird eyes.
Yeah. Okay, Moonlight?
No.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say Black Klansman.
Black Klansman.
Which
I haven't
is
seen
coming
that
out.
one.
It's good. Well, it's not out yet.
Oh.
It's Spike Lee's new movie.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So Black Klansman is a movie that deals exclusively in a white guy and a black guy who are teamed up on a police task force in Colorado. I think it's based on a true story. And they basically the black guy tricks the KKK into letting him join under the guise of being a white guy who's played by his white partner
Adam Driver,
and they together rise their way through the ranks and infiltrate the KKK.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I haven't seen the movie because it's not released in America yet. It's only been out in a couple film festivals, but that's a movie that seems like it's going to do a lot of trafficking and racism. And there's probably going to be a lot of white guys saying the N-word. And there's probably going to be a lot of, obviously, hopefully, satirical elements to it, but maybe not. It seems like it's going to be played in a satirical, comedic way based on the trailers.
It could be the Blazing Saddles of our time.
But it's made by Spike Lee.
What's wrong with that? He's the...
No, that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's I think the discussion point that I want to have.
Well, it's like Spike Lee...
It's a different
I would
filmmaker.
consider Spike Lee and Mel Brooks in the same level. I mean, they're both filmmakers. They've both been making movies a long time.
But that's not the point. That's not the point I'm trying to get at.
You're trying to get at that he's black and he's white?
Exactly.
But why does that matter?
I don't know if it does.
It doesn't.
You don't think it does?
No, not
Okay.
really.
Well, then my whole point is
Because you're perceiving. You're not perceiving. What do you like when you're trying to show a point? You're trying to make a point, and it doesn't matter if you're white or black. You're trying to show it to the people who are, everything, white and black. So you're trying to show it to an audience, and it's on them to decide what they do with that piece of artwork.
Okay.
So if it's any way positive or negative in the wheel of racism, it gets sent out into the world, and then those people have to watch it. We have to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who made it.
Okay.
Honestly, if it was good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad.
So to tie back into that, do you think that Mel Brooks in Blazing Saddles uses the racial elements of the movie in a way that seems productive? I'm
No.
guessing your answer is no, and it is absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely not.
So what do you think could have been different about the movie?
Probably nothing.
Yeah?
To be honest, probably nothing. That was the movie that was made. It's loved by the world.
It
It's
is.
just me that's really upset about it, probably. Maybe I feel like maybe one or two other people probably don't like it too.
There's
But
probably some other people who
there's
don't like
probably
it.
some other people that don't like it. But as far as like a beloved classic, Blazing Saddles, which I did not understand at all.
Have you talked to anybody else about not liking Blazing Saddles besides me?
Probably a few people, but not at this length. Probably just like, Adam Hunter. I told Adam Hunter. I said, I don't like Blazing Saddles. And he freaked out on me. He was like, what? So what comedy do you like? And then I said, City Slickers 2. And then he said, oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
I've never seen any of the City Slickers franchise.
Oh, man. Start with number 2.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wait, how many movies are there?
I think there's 2.
So just start with 2.
Start
Don't
with
even
number
go
2.
to 1.
Yeah. I mean, go back to 1, but start with 2.
Gotcha.
2 is, The Legend of Curly's Gold. Shout out.
So it's another thing that I didn't realize until doing a little bit more research on this movie is that it came out the same year as Young Frankenstein.
Oh, really?
So you've got a very different, extremely different divergence of Mel Brooks's comedic viewpoint and comedic output coming out in the same year. Young Frankenstein, I think it was rated PG. Very, it's a very obvious parody. I'm not going to say because I don't think it's a satire. It's just it's a parody, but parody of that kind of filmmaking where it's like monster movies and all kinds of stuff. And there's super lighthearted elements, and he's got his musical numbers, which is like I guess it's like a Mel Brooks trope at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about.
Sure.
I know he made The Producers, which is a musical, and every movie I've ever seen of Mel Brooks has musical numbers within it that are very elaborate.
Song and dance, yeah.
He's a song and dance man. Young Frankenstein, obviously a very different kind of comedy movie than Blazing Saddles, but released in the same year from the same director. Do you think that there's any overlap in the kinds of audience that he was trying to get? Do you think he was like, and actually, you know what, before
The comedy audience.
well, obviously the comedy audience. Let me look up and see real quick what the release schedule actually was, because I think
2 movies in 1 year, though. That sounds nice. Especially 2 movies that still people talk about today.
it does, right? All right, 2 movies, 1 year. Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein came out after, it looks like.
Wow, he opened with Blazing Saddles?
He opened with Blazing Saddles. Yeah, so Young Frankenstein came out in December.
So really, Young Frankenstein saved Blazing Saddles.
I don't. It's not. It didn't. It's,
How did Blazing Saddles do in theaters? Was it good? Did they
Blazing
get
Saddles got. Here we go. While the film is now considered a classic comedy, critical reaction was mixed when the film came out. Here we go. Vincent Canby wrote, Blazing Saddles has no dominant personality, and it looks as if it includes every gag thought up in every story conference. Whether good, bad, or mild, nothing was thrown out. Like I said, it throws
Hell
everything
yeah.
at the wall and sees what
Hell
sticks.
yeah.
Woody Allen's comedy, though very much a product of our age of analysis, recalls the wonder and discipline of people like Keaton and Laurel and Hardy. Mr. Brooks' sights are lower. His brashness is rare, but his use of anachronism and anarchy recalls not the great film comedies of the past, but the middling ones like the Hope Crosby Road Pictures. With his talent, he should do much better than that.
Ooh.
Listen to this. Roger Ebert gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, called it a crazed grab bag of a movie that does everything to keep us laughing except hit us over the head with a rubber chicken. Mostly, it succeeds. It's an audience picture. It doesn't have a lot of classy polish, and its structure is a total mess. Agreed. It is a total, complete,
So yeah, they didn't like it.
plotted mess, but he gave it 4 stars.
Doesn't matter.
4 out of 4 stars.
Doesn't matter. He didn't like it.
It's a good movie.
It's not a good movie. Gene Wilder also phones it in the whole time.
The film crossed $119.5 million at the box office, becoming only the 10th film up to that time to pass the $100 million mark.
Yeah,
So it did well at the box office.
It did well in the box office. That's good for him.
And how did Young Frankenstein do, though? We're going to look that up right now. Reception was a box office success. It didn't make that much money compared to compared to Blazing Saddles. Young Frankenstein made $86.2 million. Received mostly positive reviews from critics. And a riotous silly spoof featuring a fantastic performance
What
by
year
Gene
did these
Wilder.
movies come out?
1974.
74. Okay.
So, in terms of, I think, what filmmaking, in comedy filmmaking specifically, can do, if we're going to compare these 2 movies, and because they came out in the same year and they're from the same director, I'm going to put my eggs in the Blazing Saddles basket and say that it's a more important movie for
Why?
satire.
Why?
Because
It's not good satire.
It
though.
is good satire.
It's not good satire. It's even the critics are saying that it's base level, everything but throwing a rubber chicken over your head. It's open mic satire. It's satire of just walking up on stage and opening with like, I don't know. Oh, fuck. No examples coming to my
You
brain.
can't examples because you're wrong.
Because every example I'm thinking of is like a cliche, like improv example and not like a stand-up example.
But that's the thing.
It's just shitty.
I think before
nothingness.
Before this movie, you know why all the examples now are shitty nothingness, because this is the movie
This started
the conversation. This is the bar.
I'm okay with saying but the person who goes
who
who
set
sets
the bar.
is not. It's not good. It's people who pass the bar who do it better. Oh yeah, that first guy who like jumped on ice skates, pretty cool. But now someone can flip 3 times and then land.
But that's why I say it's more important than Young Frankenstein. And I will say this.
Also, I disagree that it's important because someone was going to make a base. Eventually, we would have had a base. Blazing Saddles didn't need to be a base. Nobody was begging us for a comedy satire base.
Well, you know what? Nobody's begging us to do the jokes that we do in our acts either, but we do it.
We do it because we think it's funny.
And so that's why Mel Brooks made this movie. He thinks it's funny. I don't think he was trying to I don't know, maybe he was. Because I think satire is the comedy that is trying to say something.
He definitely knew that people would go and watch it, which is a telltale of what that time was like.
Mm-hmm.
It's very clear that he knew if I make this film, people will come out and see it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I make it slapstick and make it based around racism and stuff like that. He could be a genius. He could be just a guy trying to get money. I'm not 100% sure.
He's a Jew, so he's a guy trying to make money.
Oh my God.
Hey, there we go. Now that's a bar that anybody can clear.
You're going to get in trouble for that.
Omid, it's okay. Who listens to this podcast?
Me and you. Right now. And Meg, actually, in the booth right now.
Megan's listening. See, Megan's smiling. Megan's laughing.
She's writing a blog about it right now.
Oh,
She's gonna
God.
post it.
I'm going to get called out on babe.net.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Catholic and Hindu get extradited from all.
Here's the thing. I will also say I enjoy Young Frankenstein more as a movie. Young Frankenstein is a movie that I can go back to and watch over and over and over again. Blazing Saddles, I enjoyed watching it, but it also feels like a chore to watch.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot to
It doesn't
take
have a
on.
good story. It's not interesting. It's overtly racist. You should have just started with this podcast with you going, Omid, I agree with you. Okay, guys, next week we have this person.
But then then we have to pad it out and talk about what?
I don't know. We can just play our sets. Just play a bunch of sets that we've done. Just a bunch of sets. But actually, that's not a bad podcast idea, huh?
Just playing a bunch of sets?
Bunch of sets. You get somebody to bring their phone, and then you plug their phone in, and you do a bunch of sets.
And we'll call a bunch of sets.
Call a bunch of sets.
And we can do a Photoshop logo with a bunch of crunch.
Yeah. Ooh.
See? I think, okay, I'm going to make one last salvo.
Tell me.
For why I think, and I'm not trying to change your mind. I know I'm not going to change your mind.
It's not going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen. I'm not here trying to change your mind.
Unless Mel Brooks walks in right now.
Oh my God, Mel, thank you so much.
Sucks my dick.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks, if you're up to the challenge of making Omid like this movie, come suck his dick.
I'm joking.
Look, if Mel Brooks came in, would you turn down a blowjob from Mel Brooks?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I would
Actually
100% turn down a blowjob from Mel Brooks.
Something tells me Mel Brooks probably doesn't give a very good blowjob.
I agree.
I think, okay.
Because he sucked my dick last night. And boy, was it toothy.
I think
it's toothy.
I think this movie, it does kind of feel like a toothy blowjob. Now that you mention it.
Wow, yeah.
Well, because it's like
you should be a film critic.
That's what maybe I'm trying to do with this podcast. I think this movie pulls. I disagree that this movie doesn't pull off the satire well. I think that it does. I think that as much as you hate my metaphor, I don't know if it is a metaphor or not. That's how great of a film critic I am. I don't know what a metaphor means.
Keep going, Jay.
The metaphor of walking the tightrope and getting all the way to the end. I think it does that.
It doesn't, though. It clearly shows his hands. He shows you everything that he's going to do in the beginning. The burp scenes and all that kind of stuff is filler, but he shows that this movie is going to be just about racism up top. And I don't know. I just don't. I didn't connect with it.
That's fine. You know, it's a movie that's hard to connect with, I guess. And that's
No, but you connected it with when you were a kid. Your parents rented it for you. It's definitely a different. It's a
exactly.
different
It's a
community.
movie. And that was the point that I was really trying to get at after the fact, which you elaborated on a little bit better than I did in the moment. I think that it's a movie that is hard to watch, and I think it earns its laughs. The ones that the ones that it is doing, that is pulling and taking and shining a light on, like, hey, look at all these bad things that people at the time did, and look at all these bad things that are sort of echoing what we're doing now, and not just with the race stuff, but with other aspects of filmmaking and aspects of kinds of characters that are put up in movies. I think that element of the movie is done well, but this movie is not a movie that I would request to watch over and over and over again. This is probably a movie that I will not watch again for, I would guess, maybe another, I don't even know. It's not like I have a burning desire to add Blazing Saddles to like my library of films.
What part of that movie would you be like, damn, I gotta see that again?
I can't think of one.
No.
But that's the thing. It's like
there's always movies that like, oh, at least there's something in that I want to see.
Well, it's like Requiem. Okay, the best way that I can come up with for it now is it's like Requiem for a Dream. Like, I really enjoyed Requiem for a Dream, and I really enjoyed Blazing Saddles. But they're both movies that are hard to watch now.
I would watch Requiem for a Dream again just for that shot of Marlon Wayans naked on that bed hugging that girl. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I would watch it just for that shot, because that shot is so beautiful when it like zooms in.
You know what? I would watch Blazing Saddles again just for the sequence of him riding through the desert and the Count Basie Orchestra playing, and then he shows up with them and he gives Count Basie a high five and then rides off into the sunset.
All right. See, there you go.
That's fun.
That's it.
I think that this is a movie, I can understand why it is a comedy classic, but
why? Tell me why.
Because it set the bar. That's why. Because it set the bar.
Okay.
I think other people have cleared that bar. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I think other people have done this style of satire way better. But it set a bar.
Like Team America, I would say did it way better.
Mm-hmm. I haven't even seen Team America, and I can agree with you on that.
You haven't seen Team America?
I haven't
World
seen Team
Police?
America. Nope.
Oh, man. That's what happens when you're born in 1990.
Yeah, your parents let you watch Blazing Saddles, but not Team America.
What kind of world are we living in?
Who knows, man? It's a real disappointment. Is there a movie that you would recommend, since you didn't like Blazing Saddles so much? Is there a movie that you would recommend as like maybe a comedy movie or
Besides
a satire?
City Slickers 2?
Besides City Slickers 2.
Besides City Slickers 2, a comedy, does it have to be for grown-ups or for kids?
Let's go with for grown-ups, because Blazing Saddles is it's a comedy made for adults. Young Frankenstein, again, comedy made for kids.
Well,
very different kind of movie.
I can't think of anything right now just because
That's
I don't
fine.
know.
Well, then we're going with City Slickers 2, The Legend
City
of Curly's
Slickers
Gold.
2, Legend of Curly's Gold. Good for the whole family, kids, adults, aunts, uncles. It has John Lovitz, Billy Crystal, the guy from Home Alone, the thief, not Joe Pesci, the other one. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Daniel Stern.
What? Is that his name?
I think so.
Daniel Stern?
From Home Alone, right?
Daniel Stern. Yes, Daniel Stern's
Yeah,
in
it's
it.
Daniel Stern.
So the other movie I was going to recommend, but it's a kids movie, but I'm pretty sure it's still funny, is this movie called Bushwhacked, also starring Daniel Stern, where he's a con man who takes a group of Boy Scouts hostage in the mountains, but the Boy Scouts don't know that they're hostages. Wildness ensues while Daniel Stern tries to, I don't even remember what the plot is, but he like tries to keep these kids, and then by the end they gotta like climb a mountain. It's a hilarious movie. Bushwhacked.
Bushwhacked.
Classic. That movie set the bar, if you're gonna ask me.
Oh, man.
Fuck Blazing Saddles.
Hey, listen.
Fuck Blazing Saddles. I'll say it again. Mel Brooks, you can suck my dick. That movie was terrible. And I'm sorry for saying those words, and I don't mean any of them. Just like I hope you didn't mean anything in Blazing Saddles.
Here's the thing. And I will say this. Mel Brooks even acknowledges now When asked later about the many N-word references, Brooks said he received consistent support from Pryor and Cleveland Little. He added
two people.
the two black people in the
It
movie.
doesn't matter.
He
It's just
added,
because two people said it's okay. That
he
means
added,
it's okay.
He added.
That's ridiculous.
If they did a remake of Blazing Saddles today in 2012, when he did this interview, they did a remake of Blazing Saddles in 2012, they would leave out the N-word, and then you've got the movie.
Well, fuck him then, because you can't do that. He already made the shitty one with all those N-words in it. That's now the one that we all watch. You know what? You could release it in 2012. You could do a director's cut. You could change all those N-words to another word or cut them out. So that is bullshit, because that's an apology for knowing that your artwork didn't do what it was supposed to do, that it fucked up a system and it made shit worse for people.
And that's why it's and now people are making higher bars.
But you can't make it a bar. You got to discard it. You wouldn't even put it as a bar standard. It's so off that it doesn't even deserve to be considered a bar. It deserves to be considered a miss, because it didn't land. You got to put a bar up. You have to land. You got to go over the bar or whatever it is. Like when you're high jumping, if you hit the bar, that doesn't mean you set the bar. You got to go over it once. And he didn't go over it in that film. That's why I don't think it's a bar. Robin Hood Men in Tights, totally different story. Classic. I would watch it every day.
City of Slickers 2, Legend of Curly's
City Slickers
Gold.
2, Curly's Gold. I'm going to go home right now, watch it on my phone.
God, and there's one. Here's one last. This is.
I appreciate you at least feeding me positive things that helps my argument, even though it's hurting your argument, Jay.
Look, that's fine.
It's good. It's good for this podcast.
It is good for the podcast. That's why I'm feeding them to you.
Thank you.
I want to make compelling audio for people.
That's
Omid.
good.
At the end of the day.
That's what I appreciate. Go ahead.
If you want to see, and I was going to say, if you want to see a version of Blazing Saddles without all the racist stuff, the 2017 animated film Blazing Samurai, starring Michael Cera, Samuel L. Jackson, Michelle Yeoh, and Ricky Gervais, has been characterized by its creators as equally inspired by and an homage to Blazing Saddles. Starring Hank as a dog who wants to become a samurai, arrives in a strange land entirely inhabited by cats. Fun for the whole
black
family.
People are dogs and white people are cats. Come check out this new movie.
Omid.
We call it Blazing Racism.
We call it Blazing Crosses.
That's a fucking movie. That's a good Blazing Saddles parody.
Omid, thanks for coming on today.
Is that
man.
the whole episode?
That's the whole episode.
Oh my god, that was such a blast, Jay.
We did it.
Thank you so much.
Where can the listeners find you on the internet?
I'm on Instagram at Omid Singh. I'm on Twitter at Omid_Singh. I'm on Facebook. I only have 800 friends I can add left on Facebook. I'm at 4,200 friends.
Damn.
800 friends to go. If you want to be one of the last 800 people before I hit 5,000, now is the time. Don't wait. Get on my Facebook right now.
And especially if you have a direct connection to Mel Brooks and you can get him to come and suck Omid's dick.
Please tell him to do so. I'd be more than happy to let him suck my dick.
Guys, you can find me on the internet at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. jlightcomedy.com for show dates. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.